Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Cora, and today we will be talking about Black Friday. So Black Friday was a series of events that occurred in mainly the eastern United States, so Wall Street up in New York, and where all of the big tech and industry financial conglomerates were. It occurred in about October 1929, and it had followed a long period of prosperity in the US. So there were about 8 years before that where life was pretty good. Everyone was fairly happy and people were buying things. Credit was being kind of introduced into the purchasing world, and so people were buying things on a pay some now, pay some later. So get a down payment. And the economy was really changing. It was kind of improving, and so people were in a very kind of happy mood. So it was kind of caused by the large financial, the people who had millions of dollars who were now investing into the stock market. So they decided that they wanted to play the stock game and they wanted to both improve their money and kind of improve the economy of the US. So they were putting millions of dollars into the stock market. And this resulted in the littler, more smaller entrepreneurs to get more invested in the stock market and become more interested in it, which was a good thing at the time because it was improving the economy and everyone was flourishing from it for the most part. But then the people who had the most amount of money and the most sway in the stock market started to pool their money together and really caused a shift in the stock market and how people went about playing it. So they would pool their money together and kind of decide between this few of them which stock they wanted to kind of increase and which one they wanted to put their money into. And then once they bought stocks of that, then other people would see, oh, they are buying stocks. So they would then follow suit and also buy stocks in that same stock. And then, after they had deemed it increased enough, they would sell and make a lot of money. And the more littler people would often lose a lot of money playing stock games. And especially people who would do things like put their entire life savings on the stock market, because there were some people who made it very big and there were a lot of others who did not. So they would get a little screwed over when people would do this because they would lose a lot of money, and this money wasn't necessarily their own. A lot of people were in massive amounts of debt due to things like credit because they weren't required to pay up front. They could say, oh, I'm going to pay you back later. And they wouldn't necessarily always do that. So people were in massive amounts of debt and they were playing the stock market, which was not a good series of events. So the main people that Black Friday affected were the smaller entrepreneurs who lost a lot of money playing the stock market, and then also the big millionaires who, after the stock market crashed, didn't have kind of a safety net for them and then became like the rest of the population of the United States, which was poor in the Great Depression. And it was very difficult following the Black Friday. It was very difficult for a lot of people. So after people were pooling money, and in about October, they started to see kind of a decrease because something can't keep increasing forever and ever. There's always going to be a limit. And some people had predicted this, and certain economists had seen, oh, this isn't going to be feasible to keep going for a long amount of time. And one economist saw that there were a lot of people the same people who had bought stocks in the same things. And this was H.W. Morehouse, and he said, on a list of the 20 well-known stocks, which have increased from 600 to 6,000% during the last 10 years, 12 famous names appear above the 1,000th percent mark, with one outstanding motor stock heading the list, with a 6,493% increase. No wonder our nation has gone stock market mad. And he said this in December 1928, so a little less than a year before the big stock market crash. So even before then, people were really manipulating the stock market and kind of doing what they wanted with it and making it their own, which was not a good thing for the stock market. So, due to the fact that it was following a long period of prosperity, people were in kind of a frenzy. And they were buying a lot of things, and then with the stock market decreasing, it caused a lot of panic. And so people started to run the banks and try and remove their money from them after selling all of their stocks. And once they sold all their stocks, it massively decreased the value of the stock market, with some things going down to 0% worth. And so it heavily affected the economy when people started to sell everything and try and take their money out of the banks. This resulted in the Great Depression and a massive amount of poverty in the US. And that is the report on the Black Friday. Thanks.